Right, welcome to the second Catholic Concern for Animals YouTube broadcast. And today we have Tereza, who is a spokesperson of a Czech welfare group called Open Your Eyes. And she's here to discuss with us the work that they've been doing, and particularly the work that we're interested in with regard to fish, with the hope of creating a link between our organisations for the future. So, Tereza, tell us about Open Your Eyes.
Okay, so the organization Open Your Eyes was established in 2008 or 2007, and in general we are focusing on animal rights. Our main focus are animals which are used for food. Yeah, so we're trying to do campaigns informing about alternatives, about the life of animals, how the factory farms look like. We organized movie festival, demonstrations, and various events. We also publish materials. We send these materials to activists all around the country, and also various community events. And during Christmas or before Christmas, in the Advent time, we are focusing on the question of killing fish, which is huge tradition here in Czech Republic. Yeah, so I don't know if I should already tell you some details about what's going on with carps, but
please do.
Yeah, okay. So in Czech Republic, we have this tradition that it's the typical Czech Christmas food is fried carp with potato salad. And this tradition is spread around the country, and almost everybody feels this as strong family tradition. It might be surprising that this tradition is not so long, because it appears the roots of this tradition is in 20s or 30s of 20th century, but the clear connection between Christmas and fried carp wasn't established until 1950s. So it's not so ancient tradition. However, it's considered as very important part of the Christmas, and that's why it's not so easy to communicate some of the problems connected. And now about the problems. What's going on with fish before Christmas? So first problem, it's that these carps are moved several times during their lives. Before they are caught, 2 months before Christmas, water is drained from the pond, of course, over the course of several days. And so carps are forced to live in shrinking depths of the pond, and that's quite stressful for them. Also, for the last 2 months of their lives, they do not receive anything to eat. And it's believed that this fasting increases the quality of their meat. And usually the carp in nature would not eat over the winter, but in containers, but they would sleep, they would be hibernated. And that's not possible for them in these artificial containers where they are in big numbers. Once they are caught, they are slid down a long chute which is riddled with holes, and it's via this cruel mechanism that the fish are sorted by size. Sometimes carp will become stuck in one of these holes and must be pushed through or pulled out by the fishermen. In general, catching transport procedures which carp are subjected to, as they are sold live on the street, can cause serious injuries to their skin, fins, and gills. The main causes of injuries include falls, being squished, high concentration of fish, and also rough instruments, and generally uncaring handling of people who are solding them. While they are caught from the containers in the last stage of their lives, so in the last stage of their lives, several days before Christmas, they are in these huge tanks on the streets of big Prague or big Czech cities, and they are killed in front of people, in front of everybody, even children and everybody. And there are also many problems with handling them right there on the street, and everybody can see that.
Yeah.
For example, it's too much work for the fishermen to carefully free the fin from when they are stuck in the net. So they often pull the fin out, breaking it, or even tearing it off in the process. Second big problem when they're being sold on the street is that some fish hawkers will grab the fish by the gills when they are pulling them from the water, and this leads to injury, as the grills are not meant to carry this whole weight of the body. And despite the fact that these two practices are banned by the Czech Republic law, our activists have repeatedly documented them in recent years. Yeah. And we even send the video footages to veterinary officials who are supposed to enforce the law, but unfortunately no enforcement actions, however, been taking place so far. And last big problem I would like to mention, the greatest problem concerning Christmas carps is that they're also being sold alive. During the last week of Advent, Czechs sometimes they buy live fish, and then they keep them in their bathtub for a day or two in chlorinated water, which is very damaging for their grills. Then, when the time comes, they kill them with no proper skills, no proper training, or even tools. So home killing is not even regulated by any law, and fish are often literally beaten to death by entirely inexperienced people. So, and everything this is happening in the name of Christmas, which seems so paradoxical to us. So that's why we are doing various activities.
I can see that. I mean, is the practices you outline. I mean, clearly there's a lot of distress for these fish at various stages of that cycle. And how are your campaigns going? What kind of things have you been doing, and what kind of success have you had with your campaigns?
Yeah, so we're trying to raise awareness by various things. We published leaflets with what's going on with this fish, and what can be what can people do instead. There are meat-free recipes, and so that's one of the things. Also, in the last years, we organized various protests right next to these tanks. And some people, we get some sympathies from passersby, and of course, some people were angry. That's like how it always is. But we can see that some people are also against this practice, and that it's rising in the society. This voice. And so street activism. We also did free vegan samples, offering Christmas cookies and Christmas alternatives of fish to people on the street. But unfortunately, these events are not possible now here in Czech Republic due to pandemic. Yeah, so this year we focused on online activism, and we prepared, and it's almost done. We prepared 3 video recipes, and also one informing video where there will be everything what I was telling to you in very brief form. So we will summarize what's going on with carps, and that people can do something else instead of this.
So, I mean, that's an interesting form. I mean, it's not something that we do in CCA in terms of creating our own videos. I mean, apart from this, but this is just a conversation being recorded. There's quite a history in the Czech Republic, though, of using film for protest, isn't there?
Yes, and there are many versions of the demos. Once we had the most provocative one was when we were pretending that we are selling so-called Christmas dogs. It was like parody to what's going on with carps, and some people were really shocked and they called police and so on. And it also took a lot of media attention, which is also our goal. So
absolutely. Well, absolutely. I mean, getting the message out there and getting the message across. And do you think you're having a real impact on attitudes in Czech Republic?
I would say it's slow. And but there is definitely some impact. And I think that activists and people in animal rights groups are also helping to spread this in their families. So, for example, they will tell, okay, I have just one. I only want one gift, and let's have a compassionate Christmas. So by this, I think this idea is spreading. But at the same time, I have to admit that it's quite slow because people are really sensitive when we touch their traditions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting that I mean, because you say that the tradition really only got hold in the 1950s. Why do you think that is? I mean, why did this tradition grow up in the modern era as opposed to being something which is an ancient tradition which carried on?
I think, or there's this hypothesis that it started originally in 2030s and it was ignited by fish industry in Czech fish industry. So it was in their intention. And in 50s, because we had, communist regime, totalitarian regime, and it was centralized planning. And one of the plan was to sell all these fish, which where there is this business. It was state organized, but they had this intention to sell. So I think, and there are several hypotheses and historians who claim that one of the strong reasons why it spread so rapidly and quickly was the business motivation.
Yeah, well, I mean, business still makes so much of Christmas across the globe now, of course. And the fish farming is fish farming important in Eastern Europe? Is it something which is becoming important as an industry there?
Sorry, what's the question again?
Fish farming, aquaculture, is that something which is becoming important in your country and around there?
I would say it's already tradition to have fish farms here. It's something which is established, and so I wouldn't say that it's getting like more intense. I would say it's already there.
And that must be difficult as well, fighting against an established agricultural system and trying to change. I mean, in this country, of course, with the meat industry and trying to persuade people to move away from turkey in our instance and other meats towards vegan alternatives is difficult. And have you had any opposition from the industry itself? Have they been how have they reacted to your campaigns?
Well, once we had this discussion in a radio that there was somebody from the fishing industry, but they're just defending themselves, like we're killing the tradition. They didn't refute or didn't. Sorry, I'm searching for the words.
That's okay. You're doing what?
They didn't oppose what we were claiming about what's going on with fish, but they claim it's no problem.
Yes, well, all industries claim it's no problem.
Yeah.
So where do you? I mean, once we get past COVID and once we get into the vaccines, where are your campaigns going in the future? Have you got plans for the future in terms of what you want to achieve and what you want to do?
Well, we definitely would like to achieve the end of selling live fish on the street. There are some other organizations which are focusing on the changes in legislations. So we would like to cooperate with them more on this. So it would be nice first step. And definitely we want to inspire people because we are we are focusing on people on the basic level, so everybody, not only industries or level of legislation, but that everybody can start to be more compassionate, at least on Christmas. Yeah, we have a lot of plans for online activism as well, because not only because of pandemic, but because we see a big potential in social networks. So we're using this hashtag. So we inspire people to add this hashtag when they share some information about carbs or some tasty new recipe and so on. So that's our goal. And we have also we aim to explain to people that it's not a good idea to actually buy a car and then release him or her, because that's also one of the tradition which seems to be like nice thing to do here. Yeah, it's like what people would do with children. They will buy this car and then give him or her freedom. But we point to the fact that they usually do not survive this liberation, because once they are very, very weak and hungry, and the second they are very sick, and also another problem is that by buying the carp, we are supporting the industry as well.
And releasing a farmed fish like that is, because the fish has no experience of coping with a wild environment, so that's a problem as well. So you've got your website, haven't you, which we'll put on this video.
And this week we translated parts to English. So finally we have also some English texts there.
Go on, Chris.
No, I was just going to say that how wonderful it is to have Tereza giving this exposition of the situation as it happens right now at this time of the year in the Czech Republic. And I know this activity of eating, buying and eating, juicing carp or Advent is not only in the Czech Republic, it's also wider in Central and Eastern Europe. And I know, for example, that Poland, where a lot of carp are actually farmed, is also it's an active tradition. And clearly, we've heard that this is, a cruel activity. There's no other word that I would choose to use in the way these animals, these fish, are produced, kept, and then eaten at a time where we in Catholic Concern for Animals especially find this not to our liking. Obviously, we don't like this activity at any time of the year. Around an activity designed for Advent, designed for Christmas, particularly for us as a Christian organisation, that's doubly wrong. And it's very good to hear from Tereza what is actually happening. I was actually hoping to visit Central and Eastern Europe this year as part of some work to try and do something about this, to give our support. Obviously, that's not been possible because of the travel restrictions and COVID. Hopefully, we may be able to do something next year. So I see this as the beginning of a hopeful working relationship between us, in that we can try and put an end to this, and hopefully as soon as possible. So I'm delighted that we've had this presentation from Tereza, this discussion, and we can see what. And also, I just, I mean, in Western Europe, I'm not so much sure it's the tradition as such. Tradition, of course, to have fish eaten on a Friday, for example, where meat is allowed, which is a similar sort of thing in a Christian tradition, not obviously exactly the same. So you fast on a Friday by not eating meat, but you can eat fish, and I find that also rather peculiar, I have to say. So carp eating is not really a certainly a UK thing. It's not official, particularly eaten in the UK. But clearly, it is in Central and Eastern Europe, and I think, as I said, a lot of the farm actually in Poland, if I understand correctly, a lot of fish carp farming in Poland. So, I think it's excellent that we've heard this. We see what the situation is, And certainly from CCA's side, we'd like to work together to try and put an end to this as soon as it's possible.
One of the things which is true in Western Europe is that there is a different attitude to fish from other animals. The whole historic debate of whether fish are capable of feeling pain and all that kind of stuff, which to an extent is being rolled back now by the scientists themselves, making discoveries that fish, surprise, surprise, can feel pain and do have relationships with each other and things of that nature. Is there a similar thing in the Czech Republic about attitudes to fish? I mean, are they regarded as less, things you shouldn't worry about in terms of cruelty because they feel less pain because they don't have the same experiences of, for example, dogs and cats and other mammals?
Definitely. It's very spread, this idea that fish somehow don't feel pain. And as we see it in the Christmas when we are doing this demo with dogs, how people were shocked that we would kill a dog, but they were absolutely they ignored the fact that it was actually what was actually happening next to them, what was happening to the fish. So yes, definitely, it's also rooted very heavily in the thinking of Czech people, and that's why I'm so great that there are new scientific publications like by Professor Brown and others, which brings us many proofs that they do feel pain.
And I think as well as that, the selling of fish live. Fish in markets. I mean, if you were to do that with well, I mean, some countries you do have it with dogs, but there's a general outrage about that, whereas there isn't an outrage about doing it with fish or in restaurants with lobsters and so on. And it really is a kind of difference in our attitudes in Western countries to these animals.
Because I think one of the reasons is they don't look like us. They have different.
Yes.
They don't scream, and so it's more difficult to see their pain and other emotions.
Yeah, absolutely, and therefore we just assume that they haven't got them, which makes them probably superior to us in many ways. But that's another story. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about the work that you're doing? As an organisation, what about the wider work the organisation does beyond fish? I mean, what kind of stuff do you get involved in?
We are running, for example, the vegan website with restaurants and shops and so on, for people to help them to get all the information about nutrition. We translating articles from Guardian, Times, and other sources, and many things. Last year we organized the official animal rights march, like the one which was in London. So we organized the Czech version here, and every year, for example, on the World Day of Farmed Animals, we do this mourning ceremony for all the animals which were killed on slaughterhouses around the world, and we also have campaign about dairy industry, which is called White Minus, and so we bought a lot of advertisement places like billboards, and we put there our message about what's going on with cows in their industry and so on.
Yeah, you seem very active. I imagine you spend a lot of time on this. But, is there anything else you want to add, Chris?
Yeah, just quickly to say, clearly, obviously, there I think is a lot of possibility for working together. Not only now, of this particular period of Advent 2020, but also working together over the next year towards Advent 2021, and to try and work on, like I said, hopefully, ideally eliminating this. But I don't suspect we'll do that in 12 months. So reducing the stress and the pain and the amount of fish involved would be probably an objective between now and next year. But certainly the longer term objective of trying to stop this happening at all in future years. And obviously, clearly, we also work in the other areas that Tereza has mentioned, and we can work in those issues as well. But I'd be delighted for us to work together over the next year to try and bring whatever influence Catholic Concern for Animals can have in support of these campaigns.
Well,
I'm just thankful and grateful for Tereza for coming on and
yes,
what's actually happening.
Thank you for that, Chris, and thank you, Tereza. I mean, thank you for coming along. Thank you for giving us such a clear exposition of the situation in the Czech Republic, and we hope to speak to you again in the future and to work with you in bringing these things to wider attention and hopefully doing something about it. So thanks very much for being with us on our YouTube channel today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting organization and giving us this space for introducing us.
It's our pleasure.
Very, very welcome indeed.